Could the war with Iran be over this week? Check out this news update where President Trump says that Iran now says that they want to make a deal. Should we trust them? We'll watch it together and then we'll talk about it. But first, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Check this out.
Trump posting to Truth Social just moments ago, quote, "I am pleased to report that the U.S. and Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East."
Whoa. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst is live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Trey, does that catch you by surprise?
Absolutely. This is a major development. President Trump taking to Truth Social, not only to say there are very good and productive conversations taking place between the United States and Iran, but he goes on to say he's ordered the Department of War to postpone for at least 5 days strikes against Iran's energy and power infrastructure. This comes after the president issued that ultimatum over the weekend about opening the Strait of Hormuz. We don't have any additional information at this point into the president's thinking about this, but this is a president who has applied immense pressure on the Iranian regime through thousands of airstrikes over the past 3 weeks. And this, again, is a president who in the past has indicated he prefers a diplomatic option when one is available. The images you see here are Iranian ballistic missiles soaring through the skies of Israel over the weekend. There were dozens of attacks that took place, the Israelis striking back against Iran's storage facilities for these missiles, going after many of not only the production lines, but where they keep these missiles and launchers. We understand they've been quite successful in those strikes, although the Iranians are still able to get off much of the incoming missile fire here to Israel. In the city of Arad over the weekend, we visited there yesterday, more than 100 people were wounded in a single Iranian ballistic missile attack. But while the focus was there in the south of Israel, regional focus also on the Strait of Hormuz, where President Trump referenced over the weekend the possibility of conducting additional strikes that appear now to be off the table, at least for 5 days. I asked Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about that post.
President Trump said that if in 48 hours the Iranians don't open the Strait of Hormuz, that there will be strikes against the power grids in Iran. Will you participate in those strikes, and what do you think should happen next in this campaign?
I think President Trump knows exactly what he's doing, and whatever we do together, and as far as possible in confidence.
So again, the president just breaking some news this morning saying that there will be a 5-day delay to any strikes on Iran's power and energy infrastructure. The Israelis not just looking to the east, but also north to the Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. You can see some of the exchanges of fire there in southern Israel. As a top spokesperson for the Israeli military said this about the length of the campaign.
The citizens of Israel, more weeks of fighting against Iran and Hezbollah are expected for us. With each passing day, we are weakening the terror regime more and more. We will not allow the terror regime and its proxies to constitute a threat against Israeli citizens and against the existence of the State of Israel.
Again, though, the headline today, President Trump saying in a post on Truth Social just minutes ago that the United States and Iran have had very good and productive conversations over the past 2 days. And again, President Trump is ordering the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, to delay any strikes against Iran's power or energy infrastructure for at least 5 days. Guys?
So we're still waiting, Trey, on any response from the Iranians, because the foreign minister yesterday said, I'm not interested in talking to the U.S. He usually is the spokesperson that does the American shows.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you have two relatively moderate voices within the Iranian regime that are still alive, the foreign minister and also Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian. Many of the hardliner Shia clerics have been taken out in Israeli and American strikes over the past 3 weeks. But there still is this underlying message that we have seen from the IRGC and other officials in Iran that they want to continue the fight. And so we'll have to do some reporting to determine currently what the situation looks like at what appears to be a negotiating table and whether or not the Iranians are serious about creating and referencing a deal with the United States.
Ainsley, I know you're going to read that full statement, but I want to ask Trey, because you just talked about a lot of the leadership. They're gone. They're dead. Generals, foreign minister. The foreign minister is still alive. But who's the point person now? Who's the United States communicating with? Do we know that yet?
It's a great question, and we don't know that there are a number of people who could communicate on behalf of the Iranian regime, but again, these are considered more moderate voices. And while the President Masoud Pezeshkian and others have the ability and in the past have communicated with members of the Trump administration, right now we don't know who is actually leading any sort of negotiation that's taking place. According to reports, it is not Iran's current supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, who is believed to be gravely injured as a result of an Israeli strike in the opening hours of this campaign. As this is all continuing, though, the thing to look at here is a de-escalation ladder. We have seen over the past several days the Iranians continuing attacks against Israel and Gulf countries. And if they are serious about creating and adhering to a deal with the United States, you can imagine President Trump and the administration will want some assurances from the Iranian regime that they're not going to continue launching ballistic missiles and drones at U.S. allies and forces across the region.
Okay, Trey, thank you so much. Valuable information this morning. Let me read the full Truth Social that the president just released. I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenor and tone of these detailed and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for 5 days, for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions.
So Pezeshkian, the president, has urged India to be an arbiter between us and them, because
the president
India's saying, hey, can I use the Strait? And there was a report yesterday, yeah, you can use the Strait for $2 million.
So you see in this clip that we're hearing something very significant today. President Trump has just said that Iran now wants to make a deal and that the war might be coming to an end. Now, on the surface, that sounds like really good news. Everyone wants peace. Everyone wants the fighting to stop. No one wakes up in the morning hoping for more war. But history teaches us something very important, something that we ignore at our own peril. Not every war should end the moment the enemy says, let's talk. Because sometimes what looks like peace is just the enemy buying time. And we've seen this before, especially with Iran. Iran has a long documented pattern of entering into negotiations while continuing its nuclear development behind the scenes. For years, international inspectors reported restricted access, hidden facilities, and delayed disclosures. Even after agreements were signed, key elements of their program were never fully dismantled, only paused or relocated or concealed. That's not peace. That's strategy. That's Iranian strategy. And here's the deeper issue. If the core threat is not removed, if the infrastructure, if the leadership capability, and the offensive reach remain intact, then all you've done is delay the next war. And the next one might come at a worse time. Right now, America is in a position of strength, militarily, economically, strategically. But history shows that strength doesn't remain constant. It's not a guarantee. Windows of opportunity close. If you stop before the job is finished, you don't eliminate the danger, you push it into the future, where it can grow, where it can reorganize, where it can return stronger. It's like a disease. If you treat the symptoms but leave the cancer, it doesn't go away, it spreads quietly, patiently, until one day it comes back more aggressive than before. And by then, the cost is far greater. So yes, peace is the goal, but real peace is not the absence of noise, it's the removal of the threat. It's not built on words, it's built on reality. The question that we have to ask is not, can we end this war? The question is, will ending it now make the world safer or simply more dangerous later? Because the true measure of leadership is not how quickly you end a conflict. It's whether you end it in a way that ensures that it doesn't return. And that's the difference between temporary relief and lasting peace. Because peace without security is not peace at all. It's simply the silence before the next storm. If you like this content overall, that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.